When is too early to start planning your move? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's really never too early. And that's why I have this channel. It's never too early. But whether you're 6 years, 6 months, or 6 weeks away, this video is going to go through everything that you need to know. I don't want you to stress if you're 6 weeks away, okay? I got a lot of great information for you in here as well. So let's get into it. Hey, it's me, Katie, and I help people get their homes ready for sale. Now, this is a calendar. I don't want you to feel bad if you are like already on the market and you're watching this, because I'm still going to give you some information that you need to know. But it's really never too early to start planning for your move. So I want to talk a little bit about if you are, first of all, more than 2 years out. Anyone more than 2 years out, this is kind of what you need to know. This is really the only point where you should be thinking about remodeling. Okay, if you are less than 2 years away from selling, I want you to kind of put that on hold until you get some professional advice. Now, if you are more than 2 years out and you're thinking, you know, boys, nobody's going to buy this house if the kitchen isn't remodeled, and you want to live in it for you, that is the most important thing. If you want to do it for you, then do it, because you may not get that return back. However, you're going to have the enjoyment of living with a kitchen as new. If you think the only reason you're doing the remodel is to get that money out, then I would wait until you really know what you're talking about. I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, the other thing I want you to be looking at is I want you to look around your home. I want you to look at the big furniture, especially the outdated furniture, the furniture that you're not interested in, that you know you're not going to be moving with you and you never use and you've never liked. Okay, that's a key. And you've never liked. Now, if you are more than 2 years out, this is the time to start thinking about selling if you think you can get money for your furniture. Because I did a video called No One Wants Your Stuff. Now, I got a lot of hate on this a little bit. I got a lot of people who were, yeah, this is true, but no one wants your stuff. And so when you're trying to sell your house and get rid of all your stuff and get it on the market and declutter and do everything, and you're really stressed at the end, it's very hard to sell. In order to sell your stuff, you need to have patience, because you need to take pictures. You need to post it online. You need to have people come, and then you have to negotiate, and you've got to get it out of there. So if you have things that are valuable, or you know you want to start selling, definitely take your time and do it. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of a story to something that just happened with No One Wants Your Stuff, because I was executor for my uncle who just passed away, and he had no children, no spouse. So I went in to clean out his apartment. And I thought, wow, this is really sad that no one's going to pay for this great stuff in his apartment. And I talked to my girls and I asked, do you want to come over and see something? And my 23-year-old came in and she said, oh yeah, I'll take any wood furniture. And it was a bunch of bookcases, this beautiful like wood piece that my grandmother had, and then this dresser also that I thought, was kind of like retro a little bit. But she said, I will take any wood furniture because you can't get this type of quality anywhere else. Now, this is the first time that I've heard the younger generation talking about taking things and recycling them. Now, this is probably for people, in their 20s. People in their 30s, I'm not finding that as much. So maybe things are starting to change around a little bit, where maybe the thrift stores, maybe the antique stores are going to be coming back into fashion, because it does seem like these younger people know you're not going to be able to get the quality, so you should make it work for you. Pick some pieces that work with you and your personality. So I was very pleased about that. So maybe when I say no one wants your stuff, I don't know, maybe that's just a little bit off. Also, more than 2 years out, you need to start decluttering. Yep, decluttering. Now, when I talk to people about decluttering, the first thing they say is, oh, my closets are a mess. That is like the very last thing I want you thinking about. I want you to really be looking at kind of your personal effects, your photos, your collections, things that make your home personal to you. That is what you need to sort of eliminate as you're getting your home on the market. Things that make your home personal to you. I know it's going to feel a little stale, but that's what people need, is because when they're coming into a house, they need to feel like it's theirs. And they can't if you have a doll collection in your living room. It's just, not how they're going to live. So you need to kind of declutter that. You need to take out your sentimental items, and you need to really start thinking about what you're going to be getting rid of mentally, because it can be a very emotional thing to do this. I know I'm just talking about this in an easy way, but it can be very difficult. I understand that. I'm not trying to kind of devalue that. I understand that this is very difficult. This is why I say really beyond 2 years out from selling is when you need to start thinking about this. Okay, now we've got the 2 years in. This is where you're going to start doing your work. And I want you to take a look at my seller's playbook. I've had it downloaded over 15,000 times. Now, this is created specifically by me to talk to you about the 5 pillars that I think you need to understand in order to sell your home for more money in less time, stress-free. And those 5 pillars are: start with strategy, updates. What updates should you make and what shouldn't you make? What are you going to get your return on and what aren't you going to get your return on? How to stage, and I'm not talking about bringing in furniture that you have to pay for. I'm talking about cheap stuff. What to price your house at. Hands down, the most important thing you can do. And then how to choose a real estate agent. So everything I'm kind of talking about in here ties into that as well. It has been a guide for many, many people in my Facebook group and just as they're kind of going down the path. So that Seller's Playbook is probably, if you haven't downloaded it, I want to make sure you do, and then follow along with the rest of the stuff I'm going to be talking about, because 2 years in is where you need to get to work. At 2 years in, gotta start doing your market research. Like, you have to become an educated homeowner, an educated seller. The more educated that you become, the more money you will make and the less stress you will have. I have seen people who haven't done this who have left tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. So what you need to do at 2 years is you need to be looking at the market, and you need to be looking at what has sold in your marketplace and what hasn't sold. You need to be looking at the pictures. You need to be looking at the staging. Maybe even need to go into some open houses and see how they're being presented, see how the agents are being presented. But the thing you really need to look at is what is the price that homes are closing in your neighborhood that are similar to yours. Now, you may think a house comes on the market and you're like, wow, if they get that price for that house, then we are definitely selling right now. Or you may be thinking, oh my gosh, they way underpriced that. I can't believe that they priced that. Our house is going to be worth nothing. How dare they price it too low? And I've had people call me about pricing a home too low in the neighborhood. A neighbor did call me and say, you priced this home too low. And I was like, no, I didn't. And I was proven right, of course. But that neighbor didn't understand the market. That's what I want you to be doing. And I do have a video. It's kind of a meaty video on how to price your home. I want you to, look at this, understand it. I do have a spreadsheet in there that you can go in and use as you're starting to figure out how much homes are worth. You need to be on a search. You need to be looking at everything. Become educated. That's it. That's what I want you to do right now when you're 2 years out. The other thing that you need to know when you're 2 years out is, where are you going to go? Because it's easier for you to say, oh, we're going to downsize. Well, where are you going to downsize to? What do you want? Are you looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage in town? Does your town even have any 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 2 cars that are in town? Are you looking for a 55+ community? Maybe there aren't any within an hour's drive of you. I always say that if you don't know where you're going to go, you cannot sell. Okay, so if you don't know where you're going to move, then you cannot list your house. This is at the point where you're starting to look at what are the options out there for you to move into. All right, 1 year prior to moving. This is where it's going to get involved, and you're ready to go. You know you're moving. You've got your plan. You've started decluttering. You kind of know where you're going to go. This is the time I think you need to call in a real estate agent, because up until this point, you have been doing things without resources, without guidance. Maybe you're just subscribing to this channel and that's it, okay? So what you need to do is, a year out, you need to be talking to 3, maybe 2 agents about what is the real price that your home is worth. Now, it's going to shift. It's going to fluctuate, okay, between that point and the following year, but it's good to get a real gauge on where you're at. Are your assessments correct? Agents, I know you probably don't want to talk to them, but they can provide you a wealth of free information that you don't need to pay for. You just have to put up with agents calling you, I guess, and following up with you. But you are going to get way, way, way more out of them than they are going to get out of you. So I highly recommend you're a year out. Make sure you get that agent in there to give you that price on the home. This is also where the agent is going to come in and talk to you about the updates that you should make in order to get your home sold. Now, if you've downloaded my Seller's Playbook, you will see in there I have a quiz that talks about the category of home that you're in. And really at this point, I don't want you doing major things. And if you do this quiz, you'll see that I put a percentage for each category that your home is in and how much you should update based upon how much your home is worth. Agents kind of innately understand this. I've actually put it down there for you, but I really recommend that if you are talking to an agent in your local market, that they kind of validate what I'm saying. I'm giving you kind of a high level. Your local agent is going to give you the real nitty gritty. The agent's going to say the market is terrible right now, or the market's really hot right now, or yeah, that price you could have gotten that 3 months ago, but we're not getting that price right now. I don't recommend you update your bathroom. However, I do recommend that you paint this or you fix this. That's what those agents are going to say when they come in to look at your home. And as you guys know, you can always reach out to me for an agent. I will give you 2 to 3 agents in your area that focus on a local level so they can kind of back up what I'm saying. And really, it's never too early to talk to an agent. So 6 months prior to moving. Okay, this is where you are really getting into it. You're really focused on this. You have your game plan. You kind of know where you're going to go, and your decluttering intensifies. This is where you might have to kind of live in a house that's not what you love. And this is where stress can start to come in, is really this 6 months ahead of time. Now, I've moved and made decisions within 3 months, and I have done all of my decluttering within 2 months, and it is very, very stressful. It puts a huge amount of burden on the whole family. So you want to do this in the best way possible. Now, when you go to move and you're getting ready to sell, there's a fine line that comes in between living in your house and making the most amount of money. Okay, so they're kind of weighed with each other. So you don't want to make your house unlivable, where nobody's allowed to touch anything, nobody's allowed to sit on anything, because in the end, that might actually not bring you in any additional money if it's that clean and that sterile. And your agent can guide you on that. But here's the thing, is that if you, I'm going to say, don't care about the money, you don't need to sell at the top of the market, then your home is going to be a place where you are living, where you are making your life, where everybody still loves it to be. So just because you're selling, I don't want that to feel like for the next year, you can't live in this home that you've loved for so many years. You're going to do your best. You're going to make it what you want. But if you don't have to get all that money out, I just want you to make a good, and I want you, bottom line, you have to fix all of your deferred maintenance. Nothing can be broken when somebody comes into your house. If that is the only thing you're focusing on, then do that. So now if you're really thinking, well, what really can I do? I'm okay with all of this. I'm ready to declutter. I'm ready to get things moved. I want you to focus on taking out your area rugs. I love area rugs, especially on hardwood, but when they are in pictures and they are colored, like bright colors, it distracts from the rest of the room. So when I'm talking to you about getting your home decluttered and staging it and cleaning it up, it means you are neutralizing it. And if you have area rugs that are very, very big and very, very bold, you're probably going to want to think about getting rid of those. You can put them into your garage, something like that. And this is also maybe where you might want to buy some just plain cheap neutral rugs to put in. This is where you need to follow my fake it, take it, make it strategy. You're going to fake the way the house looks, and that's by changing out, these colored area rugs for something cheap. These buyers are going to be like, oh, this is neutral, this is good, I can work with this. You're going to take great pictures and you're going to make the money. That's what I want you to be doing. So area rugs and big furniture are really the things at this point that you need to be focused on getting out. All right, 3 months before listing, this is the point where I really feel like you have to have your agent selected. You really need to have that guidance. You need to have that partnership going into the next 3 months. And if you've chosen the right person, that person is going to help alleviate your stress and not give you more. Also, at this point, I want you to start thinking about movers. Now, I almost didn't know where to put this into because I didn't want to put it too late, because I feel like, and this is weird, I feel like this is like a jinx, okay? Like, if I said talk to movers after you go under contract, now you're like, talking to movers, well, what if you fall out of contract and then you're really upset? So I kind of, that's my whole thing, jinxing a house after it's gone under contract. I don't actually put an under contract sign on it until we're closer to closing, because then I know we're going through. So that's just kind of a personal preference. So I put movers in at about 3 months. I want you to find some movers. I want you to talk to them. I want you to start to get some prices, and I want you to understand their schedule. That's really, really important, because you may decide on your closing date on your contract when you get it, and then the movers are like, we are totally booked up for the next 2 months. Definitely start talking to movers about 3 months out. 4 weeks before moving. This is when your agent comes in and does some last minute things. Staging. Staging means you're moving things around, you're getting them looking good, and your agent comes in to tell you anything that you might need to do in your house before you go on the market, before pictures are taken. So this is going to be kind of your Goodwill 2 version. You are now just donating everything. You're putting things on Facebook Marketplace for free, and people are just coming to get them. This is the work time. This is the 4 weeks before. You are on top of it. You have to make sure you have fixed everything. I want you to go out to the front yard, and I want you to look at your house from the front yard, and I want you to say, if I was a buyer coming into this house, what would I think looks bad? Okay, now when you do that, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been living like this for all these years with that plastic bag next to the front door or something like that in the bushes. Like, this happens all the time. So I want you to go out to your front yard. I want you to take a look at it from a buyer perspective, and then I want you to walk through the house. I want you to look for anything that looks dirty, anything that looks broken, anything that looks uneven, and I want you to fix that. These are the little things that you need to do 4 weeks before you put your home on the market. Now, I'm going to give you a storage tip, okay? Here's the thing. A lot of people, especially people with kids or people who have a kitchen that they work in a lot, they've got a lot of stuff in there, a lot of stuff on the countertops. What I'm going to give you this suggestion to do is I want you to get some big plastic bins that you can put stuff into when a showing occurs or when pictures occur. You're going to take that bin, you're going to put it into the garage, you're going to stack them all nice and neat. Now, buyers, when they come in, they know you're moving, right? So if you have a room or you have an area that has boxes that are neatly stacked or bins that are neatly stacked, they'll understand. So this is how you can live in your house day to day when you're showing your home is you've got those bins, next to the living room couch or something, and then you put all your remotes in there, you put all your reading books in there, you put everything in there, your glasses, everything. And you know what you can do? You can literally just hide it behind the couch. So I don't want you to stress too much about it, but that's how you kind of use storage bins to your advantage. Don't worry about this too much. Don't stress about it, okay? Get bins, stack them up nice. Boxes as well are fine too. Okay, 2 weeks before selling. Now this is where you're going all in. This is probably where you're bringing people in to help. And this is probably power washers, window cleaners, carpet cleaners. I'm going to tell you that window cleaning is really huge bang for the buck, especially if you've never done it before. I want you to do that, but only after you do the power washing, okay? That's a big thing. Carpet cleaning, that really should be done as well. You want the house to be nice and fresh and clean. I can't tell you how many homes I've gone into and they are just dirty, and nothing turns off people more than dirt. Even if the house looks great, I'm telling you, if you are a dirty house, people get the heebie-jeebies. So you need to hire that professional. You need to bring them in for a really, really big round of cleaning as well. Now, this is also where I want you to revisit your pricing with your agent. Okay, your agent should come in right before you decide to go on the market and take a look at the house and tell you if the price that he or she gave you before is still accurate. I actually had a seller in my Facebook group who said that the agent came in and told her $480 before staging, and her husband was like, we're not staging. Now, staging means, moving things around, cleaning things up. It doesn't mean spending a lot of money. It could mean painting. But when that agent came back, they had done such a good job of getting the house ready to go that she told them $620 as a possible list price, and they ended up selling in the high fives. So just by doing that staging, they made like more than $100,000 than they thought they were going to make. So this is where you need to revisit pricing. You also need to hear if your agent says the market is going down, because your price really needs to be right under the market, okay? Right under the market. So I want to make sure that you are talking to your agent and you have an open mind and you don't get mad at your agent. Well, you said 600 a year ago. The agent has no control over the market. And I can say specifically down in like Southwest Florida, where they have a lot of inventory right now. And I'm talking to agents there all the time, and they're like, we have so much inventory that you have to price your home correctly. So I don't want you to get mad at the agent. I just want you to go into this as a partnership, okay? You cannot control the market. You can't control the market. 1 week before listing, this is when your agent is going to probably do photographs. Photographs need to be done at this point. Now, if you're a home seller and you're selling like in the winter and you want outside shots, I would have done that probably 6 months prior, where you were doing just outside shots. The point of photography is season dependent. So if you were in Chicago in the middle of winter, you need a Chicago picture from the middle of winter. The weirdest thing is when a new listing comes up in January and it's a beautiful shot with flowers and trees and foliage. It looks like your house has been on the market way too long. So photography needs to happen the week before you go on the market. Now, this is where I'm going to tell you, because you haven't heard me say this, clean your closets, right? I haven't said that yet. Because this is where you can clean your closets, because by the time photos have been taken, you have nothing to do because everything's clean. This is where you save your closets, because you're not taking pictures of your closets and drawers. And most of the time, buyers aren't really going into all of your drawers, but this is where I would save all of that stuff for. I know, surprise. Save your decluttering of your closets and your drawers until the moment before you go on the market. This is also where you need to talk to your agent about procedures. How am I going to be notified about showings? When am I going to get feedback? Is there going to be a lockbox? Are you having open houses? You need to understand the strategy of your agent at this point as well. Do not be afraid to ask questions, and do not be afraid to ask more questions if you don't understand what that agent has said. Absolutely no question. All right, this is the point where you can put it on your social media that you are selling your house. I'm going to give you some caveats here. Don't put it earlier than a week. Don't put it earlier in a week, because let's say you put it 2 months ahead of time and somebody's like, oh, I'm going to come in and I want to see your house. And then you start showing it to all these people. You have taken out the excitement of showing that home. Okay. In addition, now you're in a situation where you have an agent and you brought in a buyer, and then you're thinking, oh, well, you know what? I can negotiate with my agent so I don't have to pay as much commission. And now you're negotiating with a buyer who doesn't have an agent, who's probably not a real buyer, who then holds you back from getting on the market. So your goal is to put your social media teaser on about a week before you go on the market. And then you put in there your agent's contact information. You do not say, DM me. Don't do it. I've seen it happen way too many times. It screws people up way too many times because now you're thinking, I've got all these great people who want to see this house. Well, they haven't seen the pictures. They don't know the price. They don't know anything about it. So leave it up to your agent. But you definitely want to tag your agent and your family members in that post because then they can start sharing it as well. But don't tell people to come to see your house before you go on the market. Big no. Don't do it. All right, big day. It's your go live date. Very, very exciting. And now you're like, okay, we're live. Now what happens? If you've done everything I've said, if you have a great agent and you've priced your home correctly, you should get showings immediately. Now, if your market is terrible or your home is not priced correctly, you may not. And I am seeing this kind of all over the country. The market is definitely shifting. So if your agent has told you a lower price and you said, no, we're going to go with a higher price, and you've only got a couple showings, it's probably the price. But if you have a very experienced agent and an agent has been very clear with you, the market is shifting, we're going to try it at this point, but we might have to come down. I mean, you got to start listening to your agent on that. Okay. I don't want you hanging out at too high of a price point for too long. My rule of thumb is that if you get no showings or very few showings in the first 2 weeks, you're overpriced. If you get 15 showings and no offers, you're overpriced as well. Just keep that in mind. Now, let's say everything's going well, picture's great, you're feeling good, you are under contract. This is very exciting. You're going to get an offer, you're going to negotiate it out, you're going to negotiate timing of closing, and then, all this other stuff is going on. It's very, very busy, and you're thinking, yay, and we've gotten earnest money from these buyers. Well, there's a lot that goes into this. I usually say that if your home is priced correctly and you're in a decent market, you should get a contract between 30 and 45 days. Like that's kind of my target market where I feel like that's a good length of time. So you can put that, okay, you're priced right, you have a good agent, 30 to 45 days to get a contract. Now, when you're looking at closing, you're looking at 30 to an additional 60 days, maybe 90. 90 is long. 30 is short. So somewhere usually that's in the 45-day range that they're going to ask for a closing. Usually like 45 to 60-day closing is pretty typical. So you can kind of think from start to finish. The day you go on the market until the day you end is usually like a 3 to 5 month time frame, depending on your market again and depending on the price. That's really, really significant to understand. So I hope that helps you kind of figure out a little bit on that timing, on just where you're going to move. And it'll also help you as you get those contracts in to see what you should be negotiating. Now you're at the inspection. Inspections are not fun, but I'm going to tell you, you need to vacate the house. You need to leave the house for 2 to 5 hours. What do they say? Worst thing that can happen is the buyers meeting the sellers. It almost never goes well. I mean, it's just a bad idea. So you will have to leave for the inspection, and they're going to come in, they're going to go over all the house, and then they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, we would like a credit for these things that are broken. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, these things aren't broken. And then you're going to get very angry, and then you're going to say, we can do better on the market. We're going to put our house back up on the market. Forget them. And you realize that you're negotiating over $1,000 on a $500,000 house. So at this point, I'm going to want you to back up. I'm going to want you to just take a deep breath, and I want you to say, what is it worth to you to be done and over? And that might be $1,000, that might be $5,000. But if you're okay going back on the market and going through all the showings again, go for it. But what is it worth for you to be done and over? Because your stress is worth money. Your stress is worth money. Is it worth $2,000 to you to not have another showing? It might be. So keep that in mind. Now, are you an attorney state or a title state? There are 2 different variations. If you are an attorney state, Illinois is an attorney state. Florida is not an attorney state. In Illinois, you have to have an attorney pretty much to close in most places, not in all of Illinois. And in Florida, you just need a title company. So it's important your agent will be able to talk to you about that and how the negotiations are going to go when the inspection requests come in. Usually the agents will kind of be on top of that, but it depends on your state. Maybe the attorneys are going to do that. So definitely talk to your agent about how that happens in your state. All right, so now we're closing. Yay, very exciting. And I'm going to tell you many times, if there's a mortgage contingency in that contract, that mortgage contingency will not be gone until like 3 days before closing. I know, it's the worst. It's horrible. You're thinking, can this buyer really get a mortgage? Most of the time at this point, the buyer is working towards getting the mortgage. I found that maybe in the lower price point homes where buyers don't have as good a credit or they don't have as much money, those are the ones that have more risk of falling apart than the higher price ones, because a lot of those people have additional money. They're not necessarily relying on the mortgage. So I hate to tell you that, is that you will be last minute on that mortgage. The other thing you may be saying is, well, can't we just rent back? Is the buyer going to let us rent back? And the answer is probably no. You are probably not going to be able to rent back. Now, there are a lot of reasons why, but nobody really likes it. And it can be an issue because now maybe you have a squatter in your house, right? That you can't get rid of. They don't actually close. So nobody really, really loves having a rent back. However, if you list your price at a lower dollar amount, you are going to have multiple offers and somebody may come in and say, I will let you rent back. Okay, so that is probably the way that you can get that done. So I know this video has been kind of nitty gritty, not a lot of fun, but it kind of is going to give you the outline. If you have been here this long, you like it, please subscribe to the channel, give me a comment below. And I do have so many free resources that I want for you guys. We just hit 50,000 subscribers and I'm very excited that I've been able to support all of you. I've got my seller's playbook, I've got my Facebook group, and you guys can always reach out. I try to answer every single question in that Facebook. I really do try. Maybe a couple days late, but I really do try. So make sure you watch this next video, and this is going to show you about how to price your home. I know, another nitty gritty, but if you're here for the long haul, you're here for the long haul. Thanks for watching.